Tonight, stability on paper, hardship on ground.
Nobody, no electorate eats stability. No electorate eats inflation. It is good to achieve stability in the macro economy.
That's MPP's Akomea, who is challenging government's economic gains claim while Ghanaians still struggle. Tonight on Top Story, we test whether data matches the reality on ground for Ghanaians.
You see, nobody, no electorate eats stability.
Top Story is brought to you by Telecel Connecting Energies, Holy Insecticide Spray and Coil. Enjoy a holy sleep. My name is Kenneth. Gyasi. Welcome to the program. For Chairman of MPP Select Committee on Communication, Akomea, a stable economy is simply an equation, money in your pockets. Without this, he says, an economy is only stable on paper. Government says the economy is growing with inflation slowing down to 3.4%. The cedi has also strengthened to about 11 cedi 30 pesos to the dollar, and GDP is now estimated at 118 billion US dollars. But the MPP's Akomea says those numbers mean little, with ordinary people still struggling to make ends meet. Speaking to Evans Mensah in a yet-to-be-aired interview, Akomea is pushing back on government's economic success story, saying, quote, Ghanaians do not eat stability, unquote. Take a listen.
You see, nobody, no electorate eats stability. No electorate eats inflation. It is good to achieve stability in the macro economy. It is good to achieve low inflation figures. It is not the same as cost of living. Forex stability is not the same. The forex, the impact, is largely determined by port duties, because we are a big import-dependent economy. So when you've achieved stability in the dollar, but port charges have gone up by 100%. It is that 100% that translates into your pocket and my pocket, not the stability of the dollar. Because the port person, after paying 100%, will pass it on to you.
But that's
an
isolated.
No, look into this, your office. 80% of the stuff here is imported.
I'm talking about the 100% you're referencing because of the Pelican AI. It's an isolated case where you find a few cases where it's gone up, but that means you're paying the right duty that helps our revenue mobilization
for me,
efforts.
When prices go up 50%, it's coming to my pocket. Whether it's the right duty or not, it's hitting my pocket directly. And that's what I look at, that's what I feel, and that's what helps my decisions. So, yes, the value of the dollar has come down, and it seems to be stable, and inflation is a single digit and so on. But what influences the ordinary person is the impact. Just track the price of anything. Once electricity goes up, look, this forest that you are talking about, it's good that the dollar's value has come down a bit, and it seems to be stable.
It seems to be stable.
What is the impact? Because for you and me, is the effect on our life. One second. For you and me, the stable dollar, the effect is what we are looking at, not the mere fact that it's stable. What is the effect? This is an import-dependent economy.
That's Akomea there making the argument that although the economy is looking better on paper, on the ground, it's a different story. He's been talking about the fact that inflation is down to 3.4%, and just recently also our gross domestic product, GDP, is now estimated at 118 billion US dollars. The cedi to dollar ratio, and also compared to other major trading currencies, the local currency is relatively stable, but according to MPP's Nana Akomea, that is not reflecting in the pockets of Ghanaians. Tonight, we're trying to work the telephone lines and speak to Government Communications Minister Felix Kwakye Ofosu and economist Joe Jackson as well, to really find out from them what they make of these pronouncements that have been made by Nana Akomea. So if you're just joining the conversation, this is Top Story on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra. Nana Akomea, who is the MPP Select Committee Chairman on Communication, says a stable economy is simply an equation, which means money in your pockets. And according to him, without this, an economy is only stable on paper. Government has already told us that the economy is growing, with inflation slowing down to 3.4%. The cedi has also strengthened, as I mentioned earlier. We're now buying a cedi to the dollar. It's trading at 11.30 Ghana cedis, and our GDP is also now among the top 10 on the continent. But Nana Akomea says those numbers mean little, with ordinary people still struggling to make ends meet. And he was speaking to my colleague Evans Mensah in an interview that is yet to be aired. He says that a government's economic success story is only good on paper, and he continues to say that Ghanaians do not eat stability. And as I mentioned earlier, we're trying to get in touch with Minister in charge of Government Communications Felix Kwakye Ofosu and also economist Joe Jackson to get their perspective on this. You're still listening to Top Story.
Around.
Felix Kwakye Ofosu is the Minister of State in charge of Government Communications. Is joining me on the telephone lines right now. Mr. Kwakye Ofosu, welcome to the program. First of all, I want to pick your thought on this quote by Nana Akomea. He says, Ghanaians do not eat stability.
By that, is Nana Akomea implying then that Ghanaians eat instability? I think that we need to delineate the issues properly. I know that it is the place of the opposition to keep government on its toes and critique policy and all that. But all of that too must be grounded in facts and logic. There's nobody in Ghana who can say that the economy we are under today is worse than what we inherited. That cannot be argued by any stretch of the imagination. The first point is that Nana Akomea and his boss Bawumia and the MPP completely destroyed the Ghanaian economy. Every single measure of economic performance showed a downturn. We were saddled with unsustainable debts. The currency was destroyed. It reached its lowest point in Ghanaian history. At the point, it was considered the worst currency in the world. The interest rates that people paid to take loans from banks was in excess of 30%. Inflation at a point was 54%. You went to the market in the morning to buy an item, only to return in the afternoon to find that prices have increased. All these have changed. As I speak to you, it is Nana Akomea's own boss, Bawumia, who is on record to have said that the most important indicator of economic performance for an economy like ours is the exchange rate. So nobody can deny that the exchange rate has been stabilized at a point. If you bought an item that is imported, and for a country that is as import dependent as ours, the exchange rate matters. It is the reason why for several months, about 15 consecutive months, fuel prices dropped. When we came to power, fuel prices were selling at a certain point. As I speak to you, despite recent surges in crude oil prices, fuel prices are at the same level that we met it. But for the stability of the currency, we will be buying fuel at around 20 cedis, 23 cedis like it was under the MPP. So if at a point under the MPP, you were buying fuel for 23 cedis a liter, and today you are buying it for lower, How can Nana Akomea say that it does not translate? So when Nana Akomea goes to the pump, the savings that is made, whose pocket does it go to? Does it not go to his pocket? If we are buying fuel for 23 cedis in November 2022 for 23 cedis a litre, and today you are buying same for around 15 cedis, is that not a saving of about 8 cedis? Does that not go into Nana Akomea's pocket? So how does he say that it is not translating into the lives of the people? We also do know that because of that, there was a point last year where transport operators reduced transport fares by 15%. Since then, they have not announced another increase. So the savings that are made on transport fares that are reduced goes to the pocket of Nana Akomea. Now, everyday items that we buy in the market, we all do know that because the cedi has stabilized, the amount of money needed to go and buy the same quantities as was the case in the past has reduced. And then duty payments too have reduced. And indeed, it has translated into specific reductions in some items. It is true that there are some items that are sticky downwards in terms of pricing. But a significant number of products have reduced in price. And we all attest to it because we all go to the market. So for an opposition party to disregard all of this and pretend that nothing has happened in this country that signals an improvement is simply not accurate. It is not true. It is mere politicking that is not backed by any substance.
Felix, he's also argued that government is focusing too much on statistics while things like unemployment and the cost of living remain a major concern. I want to find out from you, is government out of touch with public sentiment?
How so? So I ask you a question. You were in Ghana. Did fuel not sell at 23 cedis a litre under the NPP? If you can answer me. Fuel sold at a point for 23 cedis. Is that not so? Yet, you will testify that for several months, fuel reduced such that at a point it was sold for under 10 cedis a litre. So how can any objective person see that this thing that happened is not reality and that if we point to it, we are out of touch with the people? It cannot be justified. That narrative is simply false. It is not true. So it is imperative that when members of the opposition make claims, it is subjected to strict scrutiny. And I would have thought that you will put these questions to Nana Akomea to test the accuracy of his claims. We do know that prices have come down in many, many, many instances, even if there are others too where people are proving recurrent. Even then, government has done its bit in terms of ensuring that the economic climate is favorable. Today, there are people who go to banks who pay interest of around 15%. It was not the case in Nana Akomea. So if you ask businesses, they will tell you that they are having to pay less interest than they used to do in the past. Those who import items cannot run away from the fact that they pay lesser duty today than they did in the past. All of that translates into the economy. And so any claim that nothing has happened and that the cost of living today is higher than it was under the NPP is simply false. It is not true, based on the objective reality on the ground. Of course, it can be argued that it should come down some more. That should be the case. But nobody can deny the fact that there have been significant improvements in the economic situation of Ghanaians. Unemployment is an issue. That is true. But it cannot be said that since this government came to power, no employment has been created. The Ghana Statistical Service has put out data that shows that there has been employment in hundreds of thousands in the year or so that this government has been in power. Even if it is the case that the number of unemployed people is very high. It was high under the NPP. It is not as if it is a recent phenomenon that it is when we came to power that unemployment has increased. Indeed, unemployment has decreased, as the figures show. And as a matter of fact, hundreds of thousands of Ghanaians have been employed. But more needs to be done. And we are the first as a government to acknowledge it. And we continue to do more to ensure that we create more opportunities for the Ghanaian youth.
Felix, we tried to get Nana Akomea on the line, but since I still have you on the line, another concern that was raised about the prices of goods and services going down is the publican AI, which has been introduced at the ports. You get a lot of importers saying that now they are having to pay more for the goods they import into the country than before due to the introduction of the publican AI. So really, if you say that goods and services have come down, some of the importers beg to differ.
That is also not true.
How is it not true?
Let me show you. You see, the problem with some of you in the media is that you don't verify beyond claims that are made. First of all, if in the past you imported a bag of rice, which sold at say $100 a bag, at the time the NPP was leaving office, the Forest Bureau rate for the dollar was 17 cedis, or let's even say 16 cedis. So at $100, that is 1,600 cedis to import a bag of rice. Today it is 11 cedis, let's say even 12 cedis. So a bag of rice now on the world market is 1,200 cedis. The importer saves 400 cedis. In addition to that, the duty that was paid, the cedi equivalent was higher under the NPP than it is today because of the appreciation of the cedi. This is fact that you cannot dispute, unless you are telling me that rice is more expensive on the world market now than it was under the NPP, which is not the case. Now, in case of the publican, it does not increase duties. What it does is to determine the right value so that loopholes that have been exploited in the past to the detriment of the Ghanaian people. In other words, the duty that we need to collect, which is understated because of the exploitation of loopholes, are sealed. But it does not mean that duties have been increased. It simply means that people are paying the real value for the duty that they should pay. That leads to an increase in revenue, which the government is able to use to manage the affairs of the country and meet the various competing needs that they are. So it is imperative that claims that are made are examined and the facts ascertained. Nobody can say that it costs the same as it did under the NPP to import the items, because the amount of cedis you need to buy the item, even without duty, has reduced substantially. And I gave you the example of a bag of rice in relation to the exchange rates. And then the duty you pay to has reduced, even if the dollar equivalent has remained the same. But the introduction of automation and a system to check under declaration and under valuation, in order that loopholes that are exploited by some people are sealed, should not be mistaken for an increase in duty. It is imperative that we put that on record.
Right. You've acknowledged that there's still more to be done. What specific policies should Ghanaians expect in the coming months to improve disposable income and possibly reduce economic
First of all, by managing the exchange rate, because inflation is the biggest enemy of disposable income. Exchange rate appreciation is the biggest enemy of disposable income. So once inflation remains constant, for instance, today they say inflation was 3.4%. What it means is that compared to the same period last year, the prices of goods and services are going up at an average of 3.4%. When the NPP was in power, when they said inflation was 23%, it meant that compared to the same period the previous year, the prices of goods and services was going up by 23% per average. So that alone gives you indication that there is a slowdown in the rate at which the price of goods and services increase. So government must consistently ensure that the factors that lead to inflation, i.e. the rates of increase in the price of goods and services, come down so that it does not eat into the disposable income of Ghanaians. And then there's the other issue of expanding the economy so that businesses are able to employ more people, which then leads to employment, and then more people earn income so that they really have some to dispose at the end of the day. Those are the things that government has been doing, because everybody will agree in Ghana that the biggest problem that the people of Ghana faced under the NPP was the economy, and therefore any government that was taken over from the NPP was going to work hard to stabilize the economy. While that happens, other policies can add on to ensure that we give jobs and opportunities to the millions of Ghanaian youth who do not have it at the moment. But it cannot be said that since we came to power, things are worse now than that. Is a simple untruth that cannot be sustained by any stretch of the imagination.
Felix, I want you to hold on and bring in someone who clearly disagrees with you. Nana Akomea is the chairman of the NPP Communications Committee. He's joining the conversation right now. Nana, welcome to the show. You said Ghanaians do not eat stability, and Phyllis is asking, do Ghanaians eat instability?
Hello.
Nana, welcome to the program. Can you hear me?
Thank you. Hello.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Quite late. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Now, basically, what I'm saying is very simple. That stability in the economy, in terms of the macro factors, is translate into the cost of living of the ordinary Ghanaian. Otherwise, it becomes merely statistics. So inflation, we've spent so much money at the Bank of Ghana, according to one claim, more than 15 billion cedis, to bring inflation to 3-4%. What is the impact on prices? Because it will be beneficial to the ordinary person, all these monies that we spent to bring inflation to 3%. It will be beneficial if it's reflected in the cost of living. When you look at a lot of the basic things that ordinary people buy, the increment over the last year have been way, way, way more than 3-4%. Way, way more. Electricity, which affects everybody. Track electricity prices over the last 1 year, 2025. Track water rates. Track the price of rice, 2025, January to December. And check out the percentage increase.
Nana Akomea, are you? Hello, Nana Akomea, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Are you doubting the figures put out by the government statistician? Because you say that inflation is way more than the 3.4% that has been put out. Hello, Nana Akomea. You may reposition yourself because I appear to be losing you.
I can hear you, but the voice level is very low. So your voice a little.
Can you hear me, please?
Okay, so that is better.
Yes. You are saying that the inflationary figures are way above the official figures that have been put out by the government statistician. Are you, in a way, doubting the figures, saying that they've been massaged?
No, I don't determine inflationary figures. So I cannot say that statistical service is wrong. I am looking at pricing. Because if inflation is at 3%, you expect prices to be rising around that level. But I'm looking at prices of the things I buy, and they are much, much, much more than 3%. That's what I'm saying. Then the things I buy, look, rent, I live at Teshi. Rent at Teshi for a single room has increased from 1,000 to 1,200 cedis. That definitely is way, way more than 3%. I use Sunlight soap. I used to buy Sunlight soap 2-3 months ago at 5 cedis. Today I'm buying the same Sunlight soap at 7 cedis. That's way, way, way. We take VIP to Kumasi, used to be 120. Now it's 150. That's much, much more than 3%. You take petrol is just about the same. And I hear fellas talk about petrol at 23. That was in 2022 when the economy was this to them. You should quote the prices at end of 2024, not the end of 2022. Look, you take the forex, the cedi, it comes down, it used to be 14 cedis, 70 pesos. Now it's like 11 cedis, 50 pesos, I think. What is the impact on the ordinary person? We are an import-dependent economy. A lot of the things that we buy are imported. At the same time that the cedi has come to 11 cedis, 50 pesos, look at port duties. Because the imports that we buy, they come through the ports. Because of some new system that I understand has been brought, port duties are 50 and 100%. It will definitely translate into prices on the market. These items, that's way, way, way more than 3%.
Nana, I want to come in here. So Felix asked a question. I don't know if you got me at the first instance. You said that Ghanaians do not eat stability. He's asking if Ghanaians really do eat instability.
Can you say that again?
You said in your interview with Evans Mensah, and I quote, Ghanaians do not eat stability. And Felix posed a question back.
I have said to you that stability is good.
Mm.
But it was in the NPP 8-year rule when there was stable look from 2017 to 19, COVID-13, it was relatively stable. But you are talking about the impact of that stability. That stability should translate into the cost of living of the ordinary Ghanaian. Otherwise, the Ghanaian
and is it
will
not
not feel it. And the other Ghanaian will feel a low inflation in the prices of the items they buy.
Is it
now,
not?
if the prices of items they buy are way higher than the inflation rate, then what is the point?
Nana, is it not?
If you like track prices of an item, take any 10, 15 items and track the rise in prices over the last 1 year, you would find that they are way more than 3-4%.
Because we've seen the likes of transport fares go down. Not long ago, also car sellers also reduced their prices by some 15%. These are major factors that affect virtually everything in this country. If the prices of transport fares,
I don't know if the ordinary man buys cars every day.
I'm talking about the transport fares.
The ordinary man buys rent. They pay rent. They take transport, city transport. They pay electricity. They pay for water. These are things that cut across. I haven't bought a car in the last 5 years, so I don't know much about price of cars. But the things that I buy, sardine, milk, sachet water, but rice, transport. I found out that all of them, the increment is way above the inflation rate. That's my worry.
I want you to hold on for me. If Felix Kwachiofosu is still on the line with me, he is government spokesperson. Felix, I want to believe you're still with me. You've been listening to Nana Akomea double down on his argument that indeed there might be stability, but it's not reflecting in the pockets of Ghanaians.
But when you spoke to me earlier, I gave you concrete evidence of same. Nana Akomea wants us to discount how much Ghanaians bought fuel for under them in 2022. In November of 2022, the price of a barrel of crude oil was $84, and yet fuel sold at 23 cedis a liter. The reason for that was a destroyed exchange rate. The cedi was exchanging at 17 cedis 20 pesos. $84 a barrel. Today, the price of oil is close to $100, and yet people are buying diesel for 15 cedis. The difference is the exchange rate, which has been stabilized. So that is what stability does for you. Indeed, if he says that we should even use the terminal point of December 2024 as the measure of the price of fuel in comparison to what we have now, Nana Akomea knows that for close to 15 months consecutively, fuel price reduced. At a point, it sold under 10 cedis. So if you did a simple deduction, up to 4 cedis per liter was saved on fuel. That money went to Nana Akomea's pocket because he drives. So he cannot claim that the stability in the economy did not reflect in his pocket. You pointed him to transport fare reductions. So those who do not own cars and use public transport also paid reduced fares. He says that VIP has increased their fares. What will be the basis for that increase when fuel prices have not gone up? He says rent has gone up in Teshi. What has increased that warrants that increase in rent? Cement was selling at 105 cedis under them. Today, there are places where cement sells for 80-something, 90-something. So on what basis is anybody increasing rent? And how is that attributable to government? He says we should look at rice. I also bought rice under the NPP. I buy rice down. And I'm telling you the price has gone down. The price of oil, beans, charcoal, gari, maize. Today, farmers are crying about glut. Are they not? The reason is that the price is so low, it is not attractive to them.
Right.
So food inflation has reduced. The price at which we used to buy food has gone down. So every claim that is made must be tested against the fact. Can Nana Akomea deny that until this recent surge in oil prices because of this conflict between Israel, Iran, and the U.S., did he not benefit from consistent drops in fuel prices? Did fuel price not go under 10 cities in this country, such that it even triggered price wars among OMCs? So these are facts that must be accounted for.
Right.
Of course, there are recalcitrant elements within the economy who like to exploit people. And therefore, despite reductions in factors of production, they like to maintain prices. That is economic rent seeking. But generally, everybody who has been in this country will attest that happened. Now, let me reiterate the bit about imports because he said it. I'm asking you a question. So, look at cement, for instance, clinker. When you brought in 50 metric tons of clinker, you bought it at a certain price in dollars. In 2017, you were paying $17.2, 17.2 cedis, I beg your pardon, per dollar to obtain that clinker to manufacture cement. Today, that has reduced to around 11 cedis. So definitely, the importers of that product to produce cement in Ghana have made a saving. If you are importing a bag of rice from abroad, even if nothing changed, they charge the same amount in dollars. The cedi equivalent has reduced, so there will be no justification to increase the price of rice. That is the point I'm making, and that is what stability does to an economy. They supervise instability, which translated into extreme, unprecedented hardships for the people of Ghana. Another government has come in and has demonstrably brought this instability under control and reined in all the errant indicators in our economy, some of which I have proven to you have translated into direct benefits for the people.
Right.
Of course, we can do more, and I'll be the first to admit, President Mama will be the first to admit, that more must be done to ensure that the cost of living comes down further. But anybody in the opposition who claims that nothing has changed and that the same instability that led to hardships under them is prevailing now, is simply not being frank with the people of Ghana.
Felix Kwachofu, so thank you very much, is the Minister in charge of Government Communications. Earlier we heard from Nana Akomea, who is the chairman of MPP's Communications Committee. This has been Top Story. NewsNight caps up next.
There are many reasons to connect, and it's all to put smiles on the faces of those you love.
Daddy, thanks for the tea cash, okay? I love you.
That's my daughter, Angela. Caring for my parents, that's my duty. I also get to pay my utility bills easily with Telecel Cash. And to the suppliers at my shop,
hello, sir. Telecel Cash payment received right on time. Thank you.
I get to make them smile because I can pay to my suppliers' merchant numbers, even on other networks directly. My dear ones.
We keep the connection stronger when our family, friends, and business relations are happy. Live on cash, enjoy convenience, and make those who matter smile when you send them money with Telecel Cash.
Telecel, connecting energies.
Couldn't sleep at night. Mosquitoes will be whining my ears, bugging me all night long. Till I got a remedy. Now I'll be spraying them away with holy insecticide spray. I go spray them away with holy insecticide spray. When I sleep, me dana mada with holy insecticide spray.
Holy mosquito coil, holy multi-purpose insecticide spray. Dana kron kron. For bulk purchase, call 0302 681582. This advert is FDA approved.
Did you know that Ghana's Children's Act, Section 91, clearly says,
no person shall engage a child in exploitative labor.
That means children must not be made to do work that deprives them of their education, health, or development.
Hazardous work?
That is not allowed. Working in stone quarries, carrying heavy loads as kayaye, hawking on busy streets in the scorching sun, being used as domestic servants in homes, or diving into dangerous waters to untangle nets, rowing canoes for hours under the hot sun, and working all day without food or rest.
Yet, too many of our children are trafficked from towns and villages across Ghana to the shores of the Volta Lake, trapped in fishing boats, robbed of their childhood, and exposed to danger every single day.
Human trafficking means the recruitment, transportation, harboring, or trading of persons within and across national borders for purposes of exploitative labor.
I want to go to school, but now I only work.
This is child trafficking.
It is a crime.
It is against the law, and it must stop now.
Parents, guardians, community leaders, protect our children.
Report suspicious movement of children and do not give your child away to strangers promising jobs.
Together, let's end child trafficking now.
This message is brought to you by the International Justice Mission with support from the National Commission for Civic Education.
Hello everybody, this is NewsNight. Fresh fears of xenophobic attacks in South Africa as Ghana's High Commission in that country scrambled to issue emergency advisories to citizens living there ahead of massive planned protests tomorrow, targeting foreign nationals.
There is going to be another demonstration in Durban tomorrow, which has just been announced. And they say that it will be the mother of demonstrations. So we're going to issue an advisory in the next couple of minutes.
More as hundreds of Ghanaians sign up for voluntary repatriation back home amid escalating tensions.
This morning we've had an addition of almost about 30 people. So we're working on those to ensure that they are repatriated to Ghana safely.
Approximately how many are there?
We should be heading towards the 300s.
Also tonight, government is stepping in over complaints of sky-high hostel fees at Ghana's universities as Education Minister Haruna Idrisu sets up committee to investigate the charges.
We're also aware publicly there's been concerns about adjustment to hostel fees. There is a committee which will work with the Ministry of Education, GTEC, and the Vice Chancellors of the universities.
Also, Acting Rent Control Commissioner Frederick Opoku says the rental market is getting out of hand and has vowed to crack down on offenders.
When I talk about exploiting people, apart from how much your operational cost, electricity, are you the one who produces it? Allow the person to buy. Why do you pay for the person? In our home, don't you have our own card that we use? Then you add it and now justify that I have been paying electricity for you. Who to?
In business,
government yet to decide on extension of policy aimed at cushioning fuel consumers from rising crude prices.
In sports,
GCB Bank donates 5 million Ghana cedis to Black Stars ahead of World Cup.
And a bit later, the Ghana Education Service issues a strong warning to teachers, invigilators and heads of senior high schools to stay away from every form of examination malpractice as the 2026 WASSCE begins tomorrow with more than 500,000 candidates expected to sit the exams nationwide.
I urge all supervisors and invigilators to maintain higher standard of professionalism. Those who are caught aiding cheating will be severely punished.
The latest of these and many other stories are coming up in the next 60 minutes. You can be a part of this show by sending us a WhatsApp on 055 11 11 997. My name is Kenneth. Gyasi.
My name is Gemma. Appiah.
Details now. And tonight there are fresh fears of xenophobic attacks in South Africa as Ghanaian authorities there scramble to issue emergency advisories to Ghanaians living in that country. The Ghanaian High Commission in South Africa says it has picked up intelligence about planned mass protests expected within the next 24 hours, raising fears of renewed attacks targeting African foreign nationals.
Have been building in parts of South Africa, with some foreign-owned shops reportedly shut down and handed over to angry locals. Ghana's High Commissioner to South Africa, Benjamin Ananikoshi, says the consular section is preparing an emergency advisory urging Ghanaians to remain indoors and take steps to protect themselves.
We keep on giving them the advisory notes. We keep on following up. Currently, there's no Ghanaian that has been harmed or attacked. There are others that are facing challenges that we genuinely have sent consular officers to go and give them the help that they want. I've just been informed by my office as well that there is going to be another demonstration in Durban tomorrow, which has just been announced. And they say that it will be the mother of all mother demonstration. So we're going to issue an advisory in the next couple of minutes, advising our Ghanaian brothers and sisters to also not go open their shop, to avoid the confrontation as we continue to engage the South African authorities and to ensure that what the president has said, they are able to implement it.
That's Ghana's High Commissioner to South Africa, Benjamin Kwashi, who also revealed that at least 300 Ghanaians have signed onto a voluntary repatriation program in the last 24 hours alone.
Well, the ministry had a directive. I'm sure that the minister, in consultation with government, had decided government and other private business owners who believe that they should be able to bring back home any Ghanaian that has found him or herself in this situation. So they gave us the directive to tell the Ghanaian community, which we have done. And so we're waiting for those that want to be repatriated. We have a certain number now. We continue to, even this morning, we've had an addition of almost about 30 people. So we're working on those to ensure that they are repatriated to Ghana safely.
Approximately how many are there?
We should be heading towards the 300s.
He further disclosed that members of the diplomatic community in South Africa are preparing legal action against a South African mayor accused of shutting down shops operated by foreign nationals and issuing them a 21-day ultimatum to leave the area. Although the mayor has reportedly backed down, the diplomatic community says it still intends to proceed with the court action.
I think that we have just been briefed that the mayor is standing down on that thing that he was doing back in Escort, indicating that they have given us a number of days to leave. In fact, he has spoken to me this morning, and he indicated that he is looking for us meeting and getting this matter resolved. We've been clear to him that we're not coming to negotiate. We're coming to ensure that the right thing is done. The right thing is that give back the keys to the people who own those businesses. And then we can talk after that. What we did also was that we wrote directly to the Department of International Relations of South Africa, which is their Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and indicated to them our decision to pursue legal means. Well, under the circumstances, we have to push him to do what is right. He needs to rather uphold the law. What he was doing was just populism. Now he's aware that there's a law that he needs to uphold, and I'm sure that whether we trust him or not, which we believe that he would have to do the right thing, and he would definitely do it.
So does that mean that you are standing down on your promise to head to court now?
No. We are not standing down any of these promises until we see that the issues are resolved and resolved in a way that is acceptable to us. Then we can withdraw these things. But all other measures that we want to use, we are not withdrawing. We are not standing down. No.
Now, government has given approval for some 300 Ghanaians in South Africa to be repatriated. Michael Ashali joins me in studio with details. Michael, what do we know?
So this is just a statement that has come through from the Foreign Affairs Minister and also seen posted by the government spokesperson Felix Kwachofusu, which says that President John Dramani Mahama has granted presidential approval for the immediate evacuation of 300 Ghanaians in South Africa. These distressed Ghanaians had earlier complied with the Foreign Ministry's advisory and registered with our High Commission in Pretoria to be rescued following the latest wave of xenophobic attacks. The government of Ghana, we are told, shall continue to safeguard the welfare of all Ghanaians home and abroad. And that means that we should be expecting these Ghanaians very soon.
Thank you very much, Michael Ashali.
Well, let's still stay in South Africa and speak to Maxwell Appiah, who has been in that country for some days now. Maxwell, you've been in South Africa for some days now. How is the place like?
Well, we've not seen any protest in the last 5 days that I have been here. And that is because of the widespread global attention that these protests have generated, including one statement released by the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. That was just some days ago, sometime last week, after there was, a protest here in KwaZulu-Natal, where I am, Durban to be specific, where one of the protests degenerated, into violence. So in the last few days, we've not really seen any protests. More of what we've seen is some assurances by the South African, government that we've been trying to get a sense of, what is causing, this tension between some of these South Africans and the foreign nationals, trying to get an understanding of it. it's been difficult getting them to speak in a recorded interview. Many of the people I've interacted with, have told me that it would be difficult for them to do a recorded interview, but they opened up to me explaining what they think, is fueling the tension and the protest. Now, many of the young people attribute the attacks on foreigners to high unemployment and economic frustration. They say that youth unemployment in the country is high, and in many what they call townships, you want to call it a slum, and informal settlements, there is intense competition for jobs, housing, and small business opportunities. And some of these young South Africans believe that foreign nationals are willing to work for lower wages or operate businesses at lower prices, which is also contributing to the tension. Another reason they mentioned to me is the perception that foreigners are linked to crime, and pressure on public services. Of course, it's one of the challenges that these South Africa has been grappling with, and the government has been assuring that they have a hold on the situation. Some of the young people argue that undocumented migration makes it harder for the government to provide housing, healthcare, education, and employment opportunities to the citizens.
Right. Maxwell, on Monday, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa issued a statement on this matter. What's his position, really?
Well, he acknowledged the problem, what is happening right now, and then went ahead to talk about what his government is doing to address, the situation. So he started, first of all, in that open letter with what the problem is and what he thinks, is fueling the problem. Like I mentioned, he also stated, the president also stated that a lot of employers are willing to employ some of these foreigners, and they are paying them lower wages.
For many African countries, tourism is not merely a leisure industry. It is a developmental instrument. It becomes an instrument through which we can grow our economies. Tourism must be seen for what it is. In many African countries, tourism is not merely a leisure industry. It is a developmental instrument. It becomes an instrument through which we can grow our economies. Tourism must be seen for what it is, a major economic driver, as it contributes billions of dollars annually to many African economies. But those African economies have to create a conducive environment for this treasure trove to be opened, for these people to come to various parts of our continent, to come and see the glamour, the splendor of what Africa has to give. Yes, they bring foreign exchange, there are tax revenues that our countries can get, and there are investment inflows. As people see the splendor of what our continent has to give.
That's South African President Cyril Ramaphosa there. Let's still stay in that country and speak to a Ghanaian national living there. Welcome to the program, Kwame. Where exactly are you, and how fearful are you for your life in the midst of all these xenophobic attacks? And how are Ghanaians there coping?
Thank you. Good evening to everybody back home. Thank you for the opportunity. Yes, it's a very worrying situation because those who are partaking in this activity are able to determine who is legal and who is not illegal. So whether you are legal or illegal on the streets of Johannesburg, you are not safe. And it is not really safe at this moment being on the streets of Johannesburg or anywhere else in South Africa.
Right, and we're hearing that tomorrow there's going to be something called the Mother of All demonstrations in that particular country against Black Africans there. Have you heard of that, and how prepared are you? Are you safe at all?
Yes, I've heard that. Most of us have advised ourselves to stay indoors. Those who have businesses have been advised not to open their businesses so that we can stay indoors and just make sure that we are safe.
The government has given you those Ghanaians living in South Africa the opportunity to come back home. Why didn't you take that option?
Well, I will first of all want to thank the Excellency John Dramani Mahama for that job, and also the Foreign Affairs Minister, Honorable Samuel Kujatua Blakwa, and the High Commissioner here as well for that opportunity. Yes, some of us want to return. Some are also living here legally and doing their legitimate businesses. Not everybody is affected, even though we cannot determine what ought to be the next thing that they would do. But yes, there are some Ghanaians who still want to remain here and go about their businesses and just make sure that they are safe whenever they go about their duties.
Kwame, please be safe. Take care.
Thank you.
Professor Vladimir Entry Danso is a security analyst. Is joining us right now. Samuel Abujinapo is the ranking member on the Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration Committee of Parliament. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time this evening. I want to begin with you, Mr. Jinapo. Government has issued a new statement confirming that 300 people will be repatriated to the country. How do you take that? Mr. Jinapo, can you hear me?
Hello? Yes, I can hear you.
Right. Moments ago, the Foreign Affairs Ministry issued a statement that it is going to repatriate 300 Ghanaians. What do you make of that?
Well, thank you very much, and to your listeners. Earlier in the day, I was in a similar program on your sister with Ghana's ambassador to South Africa, who said 100 Ghanaians who have indicated their interest in being repatriated to Ghana. And you are just giving me a report that the Minister for Foreign Affairs indicated that they'll be repatriating 300 people. Our position as a minority has been very consistent. We think that what is happening in South Africa is most disturbing, unfortunate, and utterly condemnable. Secondly, we think the Ghanaian government should go beyond the rhetoric and petitions and all of that, and together the full logistics and tools.
Mr. Jinapo, I'm losing you. If you can kindly reposition yourself for me. Let's try one more time. Unfortunately, we appear to be having some network challenges with Samuel Abujinapo there. He's the ranking member on Foreign Affairs Committee in Parliament.
Let's bring in Professor Vladimir Entry Danso, a security analyst, in here. Prof, welcome to NewsNight. The government is now bringing 300 Ghanaians back home. What do you make of it?
Thank you for having me. I think it's a position the government has taken which is in the right order. Extending consular services to nationals is a very important assignment in international relations. So it looks as though our High Commission in South Africa is doing a good job. The government knows that it has to act. And this is not the first time we are acting. We did that when Nigeria expelled about 3 million Ghanaians somewhere in early 80s. We did that also when we had a lot of people stranded in Libya. And the problem is how to reintegrate them into the Ghanaian society. Earlier on, the information was that we have made arrangement to reintegrate them into several positions in Ghana, which is very good. One thing I'm happy about also is that it looks as though we are not politicizing this bad situation. Both the opposition and government are in one tune about the repatriation and what is going on. So I'm happy about it.
Despite the calls for Ghanaians in South Africa to return home, it appears that some of them are staying put. What will be your advice to Ghanaians who are refusing to return home despite all the xenophobic attacks that are happening?
Well, it's a choice. The choice of coming back home is the prerogative of every single individual. But my advice is that the situation is very volatile. If they are legal, then the South African government has an obligation to ensure that nothing injurious happens to them. However, no one can predict what will happen. In xenophobic attacks, there's insanity. I mean, people could just meet you, just like if it's happening in Great America. In xenophobic attacks, there's serious insanity and actions may not be able to be explained. So my personal advice is, if possible, let them come home and find a way of going back if they are legal residents over there. On the other hand, if they want to choose to stay, they have that right to stay, because even if illegal, the South African government has a right to ensure that both legal and illegal immigrants don't have to be attacked or that kind of thing. So they have a right to stay, but they've got to be very, very careful.
We understand that there'll be what many call the mother of all demonstrations happening tomorrow, particularly in Durban in South Africa. To what extent can the High Commission there protect Ghanaians living in South Africa?
The protection of Ghanaians living in South Africa is not the prerogative of the Ghanaian government. There is a host country. It's the duty of the South African government to ensure security at all times to all citizens, legal or illegal. And therefore, all that the Ghanaian High Commission could do is what they are doing already, protesting and drawing attention to the untoward situation which is happening in South Africa. And I think earlier on in the day, we raised the question of raising the rhetoric beyond what we are seeing. Raise it at the multilateral level, at the AU level, get South Africa to be condemned about all these things and get some sanctions on them and for these things to stop. Other than that, it will escalate and escalate. And if this escalates, we have problem for the whole of Africa.
We understand no arrests have been made. Is that a sign of some commitment from South Africa when these people are known? They are seen on social media. They've been talking, they're engaging the media, but no arrest has been made. How can we trust the South African government to protect foreign nationals in the country?
Well, in the first place, from the security point of view, the fact that no arrest has been made doesn't mean that maybe the police is not working. But it's also a sign maybe also that they're trying to look away. But let's see how it unfolds, because the point is this, that the president has spoken and the state institutions must be seen to be working. It is not the number of arrests that have been made that will stop the thing from unfolding. It is how it is handled. So I believe that we don't have to think about the number of arrests at this point. We have to think about what measures are being taken to ensure that the perpetrators are put to book and that there's no future occurrence of such a dastardly act.
We are grateful for your time. Professor Vladimir Enchidanso is a security analyst.
From that, let's talk about education this evening, because the government has launched an investigation into high hostel fees charged by some universities and hostel owners in the country. Education Minister Haruna Idrisu has constituted a committee to probe the matter after public outcry over fees reaching up to 20,000 Ghana cedis per academic year for 4 students in a room at some University of Ghana hostels, including those owned by the university itself. Speaking on the Super Morning Show, Acting Rent Commissioner Frederick Opoku criticized what he described as growing lawlessness in the rental market, vowing to crack the whip on such persons.
That's where I'm talking about the lawlessness, because you spend billions, okay? So we should allow you no assessment. The law says assess, and I'm saying that I am close the authority and power to assess, and that we cannot say we should leave assessment, because you see the argument of yes investment, blah 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 blah, and the economic jargons, free market and blah 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 blah. The law should be put aside. Ghana is a country of laws, and we cannot continue to perpetuate illegality. And we think that when we arguing, we put the law matter and be talking about economics and investment interest. Yes, it's true. They have to invest, but your property ought to be assessed for fair play. If it's it can it can be more than what you are thinking. But why don't you allow yourself to be assessed? And say that because you have invested, we shouldn't make an assessment. The law says you should assess. We will assess you. And as I speak, if the hostel matter is going to be assessed, reviewed with you. Bring the experts. Come and assess you. You are taking 20,000 Ghana cedis. How did you arrive at that? So you sit down, do your own calculations. I'm coming. Do your calculations and peg anything because you're an investor. Look, in the first place, Ghana here, the reason why I said the law is not working, people are selling dollars. Do we spend dollars in Ghana? Therefore, that's where the lawlessness comes. And that's I made the Bank of Ghana, the financial market department, and then we want to help them stop this kind of dollarization.
That's Acting Rent Commissioner Frederick Opoku. The Education Minister has been addressing the matter, and my colleague Ramat Bashir was at that particular event. She's joining me in the studio with details. Ramat, where did the minister speak and what did he say?
Ken, the Education Minister spoke at the inauguration of governing councils for Jasinka College of Education and the University of Engineering and Agricultural Sciences, and that's where he acknowledged the public concerns over the rising hostel fees across tertiary institutions. And he says that a committee has been constituted to investigate and propose practical solutions. We can listen to him.
There is a committee which will work with the Ministry of Education, GTEC, and the Vice Chancellors of the universities. We will be convening to deliberate further and consult further in order that we find an amicable solution to it. But be assured that government will simply not run on the principles of private partnership, and therefore unlimited laissez-faire guidance will dictate the pace.
But do we have details on who is on that committee and what their terms of reference is?
From what we understand, the ministry says they will update the public and provide more details on the people serving on that committee. However, during the engagement, the minister mentioned that the committee is made up of representatives from the Ministry of Education, the Ghana Education Service, and other university authorities.
And what more has the minister been saying?
Beyond the hostel accommodation concerns, the minister he also spoke about government plan to expand access to tertiary education. He revealed that the country's newest public university, that's the University of Engineering and Agricultural Sciences, is expected to admit the first batch of about 800 students in October.
It is President Mohammed's expectation that on or before October 30th this year, you would have facilitated the admission of the first cohort of students for the University of Engineering and Agricultural Sciences. New as it may be, to take you through memory lane, the contract for the establishment of this university, which cost the state about some $90 million, commenced in April 2022. There was work up to 31st July 2024, and owing to what has been described as the darkest hour of our country, it was suspended in December 2022 due to restructuring and the debt exchange of Ghana. Thankfully, the government of President Mahama, through Minister Atuforsen, has strived in the last few months to reposition the economic stability of the country, and accordingly, some of the obligations have now been honored.
We are joined on Zoom now by Executive Director of Africa Education Watch, Kofi Asare. Welcome to NewsNight. What do you make of the minister's intervention to investigate this phenomenon, and what will be your recommendation?
Well, I think it's a good decision to attempt to identify the challenge from the root causes than fighting the symptoms. And so it's a good decision to decide to constitute a body to delve into the drivers of the high cost of accommodation facilities in our public tertiary institutions.
The Rent Control Commission also has this approach. You would disagree with that approach, but they've given their justification that even though these people are private investors, their charges must be within the law.
The law doesn't prescribe how much you charge as rent. The law doesn't prescribe that. The rent control is a regulator, yes. But the rent control is able to negotiate lower rates if it actually has a justification that some hostels are profiteering, if and only if it has evidence that based on the cost margins and then the revenue margins, there's ample evidence that it is possible to negotiate rent rates downwards and make them more affordable. Without that evidence, you'll be engaging symptoms. And symptoms means talking to, going to hostels, engaging people at the reception and all that. Those are symptoms. The price list you see there are symptoms. If you delve much deeper, you appreciate that PPPs come very expensive. Today in Ghana, a plot of land around the Legon area will cost about $250,000. So have that in mind that building itself don't come cheap. And so addressing these challenges require a surgical knife inquiry into the cost build-up of hostels. Okay, and then appreciate the margins. What are the cost margins and what are the revenue margins? If you have an idea about the profits they are making, you will find space to negotiate if indeed they are making that much. But in all this, let's also situate this within the pressure on tertiary institutions to raise IGF. If you look at the budgets in the past 10 years, significant portions of the universities or tertiary institutions' budget is coming from IGF. This year, for instance, about 34% of the budget of public tertiary institutions is supposed to be financed from IGF. Now look at the University of Ghana. Where will the IGF come from? The IGF will come from hostels that belong to the university. Okay, so PPP arrangements that have ended, reverted to the university, will now serve as revenue sources because there is no budgetary allocation for infrastructure, for instance, in all tertiary institutions in the main budget. And so all the capex lines are coming from IGF. And this IGF is either students who are paying fees for programs that we know of, or revenue from facilities like accommodation facilities that belong to the university, some of them PPPs that have now reverted to the universities after the period have expired. So the pressures on public universities to raise funds through IGF is one key driver. If government is financing our universities to run well, I'm not sure universities will become revenue generating institutions and imposing or shifting this cost on students. And so this committee indeed has a lot of work to do to go into not just private hostels, but also PPP hostels that were built by private people that have been transitioned to universities, but yet are still charging the same cost, to understand the cost dynamics of these things and then the financing pressures on our public tertiary institutions to raise IGF and run.
Kofi, away from this, let's talk about the EduWard's latest concern about a possible placement gap with regards to the recent BEC graduates going into SHS. What exact challenges do you foresee?
Well, last year, we were able to admit just about 485,000 students out of the 590K that qualified for placement. Year on year, 2024, we admitted 505,000 thereabout. And then the number reduced by 20,000 in 2025. So if the 2025 performance is something to go by, it means that the system, in order to accommodate the unprecedented 620,000 BC graduates we had this year, which we project that 607,000 will qualify for placement, it means that the system must create even more spaces. 72,000 extra spaces are required from the 2025 performance to accommodate an anticipated 92% of the 607,000 who will require admission in the public space under free senior high school and TVET. And so we haven't heard much about progress so far. We are aware that the government announced a World Bank facility to expand secondary schools. We are aware that in 2025 and 2026 budget allocations were made to complete e-blocks and then also complete ongoing infrastructure projects that were inherited. But we haven't been updated on the progress so far. We don't know how many more beds we've added, how many more seats we've added in our schools. And so it's important that the ministry updates the public so that we are aware and informed about how it is preparing to accommodate the highest number of BC candidates in our history. Aside that, last year, the ministry launched a private free senior high school pilot where a number of private schools, participated. They were giving students, I think day students. Our information is that the success rate was about 35%. We need to know the lessons from that pilot and appreciate the extent to which private school infrastructure can be support this high number that we are expecting. Within all this, let's situate this within the fact that the government, again, has a promise to phase out double track. So last year, GNS announced the phasing of 99 schools. Could it have been that the phasing of the 99 schools from double track or transitional, as you normally put it, to single track is part of the reasons why equitable access constrictions occurred, reducing the total number of people admitted by 20,000 between 2024 and 2025. And so all these require a lot of interrogation, such that the government, in its bid to expand equitable access by creating more spaces in existing schools, building new schools, and completing ongoing or abandoned projects, is minded about how it progresses in facing a double track. Other than that, it will pose a challenge in absorbing the highest number of BC candidates we have.
Thank you very much. Kofi Asare is the Executive Director of Africa Education Watch. Also, Rashid Ibrahim is President of NUCS. He joins us via Zoom. Briefly, give us your reaction to the Minister's initial intervention for investigations to be carried out.
Okay. Good evening to your cherished viewers and listeners. We at the National Union of Ghana
Unfortunately, we've lost Rashid Ibrahim there. We apologize for that, but he is the president of NUCS. Ken.
Let's do business. George Weafe is here with the latest. George.
Hi, Kenneth. And coming up in business, government yet to decide on extension of policy aimed at cushioning consumers of petroleum products from rising crude prices. And industries highlight serious concerns about access to credit despite declining interest rates over the past year. The business news on NewsNight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your office essentials, tanks, and Pepsodent, Herbal, and Charcoal.
The other day, I visited Kweku at his spunky new office to congratulate him on opening his business. And man, was I impressed. The business is just moving quick. The sales, customers, everything is just working seamlessly. The secret? He said,
it's MTN Business Broadband. In this fast-paced environment, we need fast and reliable internet to support all business types. No laggy online meetings, great download and upload speeds, impeccable business management systems, all inclusive. I mean, you can have it all.
Sharp! I signed on immediately.
To enable your business stay ahead and stay connected, make sure you're signed on to the best internet made just for businesses. MTN Business Broadband. Sign up today on broadband.mtn.com.gh and manage your account on my MTN app. Call 0244 308 111 for more information.
MTN.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kingdom Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom. And my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first port of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Takweje, Osu near the Osu Cemetery, Tema near Community 4, Takoradi opposite Vijay Mays Plaza, Cape Coast University Bookshop, Bookshop, Spintex Road near Absa Bank, Atomic Centerpoint Mall, Winneba University Campus, KNUST, the University Bookshop, and Santasi in Kumasi. You can also visit our shop online, www.kingdomstoreonline.com. Hurry while stock lasts. For further inquiries, contact us on 050-162-0810 or 0302-764-101. Email info@kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited, where quality and affordability is assured. Terms and conditions apply.
Cast your mind back to 2022. The prices were rising. The stress was high. Every liter of fuel felt like a sacrifice. Do you remember who stepped forward first? When others were comfortable with high prices, Star Oil chose you. We cut our own profits so you could keep your AC on, keep your engines running, and keep your life moving without the heavy burden. We gave you room to breathe when things felt tight. Because of you, our star savers, we became number one. Today, the pumps are a battleground. Others are finally cutting prices because they have to. But Star Oil, we do it because we want to. Don't just chase a price, remember a friendship. We were there for you then, and with new innovations coming your way, we are here for you now. Star Oil, still quality and affordable fuels for all.
If you want quality, this be where you belong. Hey, tough, hey, strong. Oh, gonna shout and sing the song. When the sun they hot, syntax no break. When the rain they fall, still no shake. Builders they choose and plumbers they prove. Any project you they start.
Sasso, c'est comme un tonton précon. Sasso, c'est comme un tonton précon. Edrana drumming, yeah, we say, yeah, how can see our name and baby? Minya me pour, name is Sasso spray. Every mosquito study run away. Come on, tonton précon. Sasso, mi se come tonton précon. Come on, tonton précon. Sasso, come tonton précon. Nani sham ne die, demo stronko.
This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome back to Business on NewsNight. Let's now settle for the details. Now, government is yet to take a decision on extending the recent policy aimed at cushioning consumers of petroleum products from rising crude prices. This is what we have picked up from government sources. Details in the following Business Desk report.
This is coming after ratings agency Fitch revealed that it expects government to extend the policy in the coming days. But persons close to government say it is still reviewing all the options on the table to see whether it is in a position to extend the program. Joy Business understands that since this was a cabinet decision, the energy minister may have to return to cabinet on the next line of action. Government is also awaiting some recommendations from the National Petroleum Authority, which will also influence government's decision. Prices of petroleum products are set to be reviewed this Friday, May 15. And there are strong indications that pump prices could be going up based on developments on the international market. But with just some few days to the end of this policy and no decision yet taken, well, there are fears that government may not extend it at all, despite some optimism by some market players.
And that is a Business Desk report. Now, Finance Ministry has released more than $600 million to help finance some critical social intervention programs in the country. The move is coming at a time that there has been concerns about delays in payment to some critical sectors of the economy. Haruna Idrisu is the Education Minister.
We said free sanitary pads. We've honored that. To President Mohammed's credit, from the 1st of July, I'm currently doing the final takeoff. Special needs education will be We are now financing it through the amended Get Fund Act. So I've asked Get Fund to ring fence 100 million Ghana cedis for free education for persons with special needs and disability and for assistive devices. That is inclusive, and that's targeting the vulnerable. That is a social intervention policy. I wish that I had more funding than is the case for 2025 and 2026. No doubt about it.
Haruna Idrisu is the energy minister. Now, industries have raised serious concerns about the access to credit from commercial banks. This is despite the declining interest rate, with some persons' good credit history getting into that single digits range. Greater Accra President of the Association of Ghana Industries, Chona Makpelu, tells Joy Business commercial banks may have to do more to deal with this concern.
You study clearly the credit portfolio of the banks in Ghana. It's heavily commercial, and you realize that a lot of the loans they give out are essentially to importers, buying people who are buying and selling. I mean, it's significantly short term, and what it means is that if you study the portfolio, there's very little that goes to manufacturing and industry. And so, whilst the reference rates may be improving, it is difficult to realize the impact of credit on the manufacturing sector. So our view is that we're encouraging the banks to at least set up a proper strategy and or a proper unit that focus on providing credit financing to industry and manufacturers for a long-term period. I mean, currently most of the tenure in the banks are just 2 years. 2 years will not allow you to do any significant manufacturing work. So we're looking for long-term, 10 years and so on.
Chona Makpelu is the Greater Accra Regional President of the Association of Ghana Industries. Now, stakeholders in the aviation industry have raised concerns about the rapid development of commercial properties around the Accra International Airport. They warn that the trend could discourage air travel in the medium to long term and also impact on flight safety as well. In response, the head of the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority, Reverend Stephen Arthur, has been responding to these concerns, saying that they have to be dealt with immediately.
It is about collaboration with various stakeholders, most importantly the Ghana Airports Company Limited, as well as the Ghana Air Force, because the space that Wing Commander and the Mensa retired referred to, that portion is the property of the Ghana Air Force, and so it is about engaging them. With regards to the high-rise buildings, we are in total control, because anytime a company or an interested developer wants to raise an edifice or a structure, there are height restrictions that they must conform to. So application is made to the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority, and the clearance or otherwise is given in that regard.
Director General of the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority, Reverend Stephen Arthur. Let's do some stock market news. And the share price of Atlantic Lithium has been making some good runs on the Ghana Stock Exchange in response to some progress made on approval for its mining concession. It went up by some 66 pesos to close at 8 Ghana cedis, 46 pesos. Another firm that is doing so well on the Ghana Stock Exchange is MTN. And today it was up by 11 pesos to close at 6 Ghana cedis, 64 pesos. However, 4 other listed companies saw their value drop today. In terms of year-to-date returns, the market on the average is doing more than 70%. That is still better than other investment instruments currently in the country. And Kenneth, I don't know whether you want to explore the Ghana Stock Exchange. Maybe some of you lose capital, you lose funds.
I don't have loose funds, you know that.
Well, everyone knows in here, so don't worry. That's all for business.
Thank you, George. Let's do sports.
Hello, Kenneth. So, GCB Bank has reaffirmed its commitment to Ghana's national sports football team, the Black Stars, through a symbolic 5 million Ghana cedis donation aimed at strengthening preparations ahead of the FIFA World Cup. Now, the announcement was made during a brief ceremony at the bank's headquarters in Accra on Tuesday, highlighting the institution's continued support for the national sports development and unifying the role of football. Now, Minister for Sports and Recreation, Kofi Adams, commended the GCB Bank for its continued support for Sports Development, describing the 5 million Ghana cedis donation as one of the largest contributions from a financial institution to Ghanaian sports in recent times.
You have today done something great when it comes to our sports once more. We have received support from various financial institutions, but this, I must say, is the biggest. So the MD was right when he said we are going to the biggest platform, and when the biggest meet a great team that is going to the biggest platform, the donation must add and multiply, and that is exactly what you have done. We say thank you. On behalf, and this is not the only support GCB Bank has given for sports development. Let me use this opportunity to thank you.
So that's Honorable Kofi D. Adams there. Now, everybody is doing donations. Ken, when are you also going to send your donation to the Black Stars?
Never. You know the answer already. I should send money to somebody to go and enjoy in America.
It's okay. I was just joking. And that's it for sports.
Oh, thank you very much. Kwesi in Kaswa says hostel fees are too expensive. They need to be regulated. Matilda from Keta says, in actual fact, exam malpractices is not any good behavior. So as education ministry is saying, I see it clearly with them. Nana Ekuyamwa Boatin from Ablekuma Central says, I don't know why the African Union is always silent whenever South Africans decide to take the law into their own hands through xenophobic acts. And this one says, in fact, it is amazing and ridiculous to hear MPs and their agents say the current economic situation is worse compared to their 8 years under President Akufo-Addo. And this one says, if what they are saying now is worse compared to their tenure, then we are grateful to God for having JM and his NDC in power. And this one says, we have an African audit conference in Cape Verde in 2 weeks. Will it be safe for us to go? Definitely. Well, Nana from Spintex Road says, to the hearing of the NPP's Nana Akomea, in the same way some people had money in their pockets during their mess, some people are currently appreciative of where we are now. There are a couple of messages as well from Lukman Hussein, who says government must take immediate steps to prevent private hostel operators from increasing prices. Kojo Kumsin says, Joy FM, don't entertain these MPP propagandists to disturb Ghanaians about the economic situation, because we were all in this country when they were in power.
Now, the Ghana Education Service says it has rolled out tougher measures to protect the credibility and integrity of this year's WASI amid growing concerns over examination malpractice in some schools across the country. Speaking at a press briefing in Accra, Director General of the GES, Professor Ernest Kofi Davis, described examination malpractice as a dangerous threat to Ghana's educational system.
I wish to state that examination malpractice continues to be a problem. This practice is dangerous because it makes it extremely difficult for us to assess the quality of education, because a student who cheats his way through examination does not have what it takes to progress successfully. The examination result of such student does not reflect the student's academic capability. It makes it difficult to determine how well we are performing. It makes it difficult to estimate correctly the quality of our education, and this often leads to wrong judgment of learning outcome in our country, and it affects policy.
Professor Davis also served notice to heads of senior high schools with a history of examination malpractice, warning that they must change the trend immediately or risk being removed from their positions.
I wish to remind heads of schools that are consistently cited for examination malpractice to change the narration this year, or risk being changed. Because if you cannot change the situation, then we will change you. The situation will change you. So if you were cited 3 years ago, you were cited 2 years ago, your school was cited last year, then you have no chance this year if you are cited again. Then it's clear that you cannot change the situation. So who will change you? Or the situation must change you for us to get others to come and help us improve.
Francis from Accra says students are going to come with phones and teachers and invigilators will help them cheat. This one also says WAEC should send men in plain clothes to visit all WASI exam halls as announced. They will see things. Those are some of the messages you sent to our WhatsApp platform. Thank you very much for being a part of the show this evening. My name is Kenneth. Gyasi.
My name is Gemma. Appiah.
Right after NewsNight, though, is Geek Squad. Appiah is already in the studio. Appiah, what are we talking about this evening?
We are talking about AI in education. There's actually going to be a summit, and because of the summit, we want to talk about how best we can incorporate AI into our educational system here in Ghana.
I think it's a very, very important topic. Do you know why? Just last year, WAEC said that they caught students using ChatGPT to generate answers. And you know the interesting thing? They copied everything.
They didn't know how to go about
yes, they copied everything, including if you want, I can give you this, I can tighten it for you. They copied everything and then inputted it into the booklet. So I think this is a very important topic that everybody has to listen to. And don't forget to do the 2 this evening. Brush your teeth day and night with Pepsodent. Have a